for Cricket Show USA, the Cricket Hall of Fame USA, and the American Cricket Education Council, ACEC, is pleased to welcome the weekly joint collaborative broadcast of the Coach's Corner. The objective of the Coach's Corner is to provide coaching, education, and expert views, information, oral and practical assistance, while helping to educate those seeking to understand and to become actively involved in the sport of cricket nationally and internationally. The segment of the Coach's Corner will run from 6:15 p.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern time zone and will feature Jatin Patel, Cricket Hall of Famer and multi-sport coach, administrator, and director of the Cricket Hall of Fame. Good afternoon to you, Coach.
Coach, good afternoon to you and welcome back for another edition of the Coach's Corner. And I think I will kick things off with just mentioning that our topic today will focus on frustration. And for the first question of the day, Coach, what are the causes of frustration? What are the causes of frustration in sporting situations, and more specifically, frustration in cricket?
First of all, it's a happy Mother's Day to all mothers out there. Who you are, where you are, you have to pray to the God. All credit goes to the mother. Also, to me, if you look at it, the coaching way, mother is the best coach. She is the one teach you everything from day one, if you understand the other way. Some of them, or most of us, are unfortunate that mother did not teach us sport because she did not play for it. So that's like one option. But besides that, she has done everything what the coaches are learning, how to deal with the kids. It's all coming from natural motherhood. Going straight back to that question, frustration, it's always the huge concern. It does not matter what level of sports you play. The frustration is the part of the game. It usually happens when someone's own opinion, things are not going as expected or as you wish. The another concern can be whatever is happening in team sport or in game situation, it is not the way you like. So either it's not going your way or it's not happening the way you think. And that is the reason you get into the situation which drags into the frustration.
We have Donna has joined us and a couple of other Simon. Let's continue along with the next coach section for the coach. For the individual player, coach, frustrations may be good or it may be bad. How do you explain this?
Well, the simplest way in terms of the cricket. Let's take the example of T20. If your team is not doing, let me take this batting side, simple way. If you lose most of the batters really early stage, then the frustration is automatic for the next coming in batsman. The frustration is the concern, like the all previous batsmen or their own teammates did not do well. And now it's a heavily burden on you or the remaining batters who are coming next. So in this situation, frustration will be there. It's legitimate. We cannot ignore that. But it can be positive or it can be negative. In most cases, or commonly I would say, frustration does brings negative outcome. Means if you have collapse going on, you already lost the 5 wickets, let's say, for example, and the batter number 7 on the crease. The frustration was back into some sort of angerness. It's also hurt the decision-making process, I call it. And what happens here, this person is emotionally dragged into whatever happened before that particular moment where he is going to face the challenge. And because of that, sometimes they play wrongfully or without any seriousness, or you may call it a wrong shot selection, whatever it is. But we call it under the frustration rather than staying there or build the inning or calm down the situation. They are hurrying or rapidly throwing the wicket, we call it, because they think, what's the point of working? Even you work hard, result not going to change. So due to that lack of confidence, frustration brings the player into the angerness, and which force you to make mistake. And that is the most common way. Same thing with the bowlers. If the bowlers, let's say, you are coming as a third change, and first 2 bowlers already has sprayed some runs, about, let's say, 12 to 18 runs per over, then you are morally down to be a change bowler. Absolutely. The first ball, when you try to bowl, is to see if you can make impact or take a wicket or let it go the dart ball, something that is you hope for. But in some cases, if that ball goes for the 4 or boundary, then automatically pressure builds up. And under this frustration, whatever happens in remaining 5 balls, I guarantee you, either this third bowler is giving the same amount of average runs the previous 2 bowlers did, or maybe more. And that's what it boils up. So that's a negative impact. The another frustration is positive. It happens in rare cases, I would say. One of the great example I can give you is West Indies first World Cup in 1975, when West Indies was under real good pressure through the Dennis Lillee. He took almost, I think, 5 wickets. All frontline batsmen were gone. And they were almost in a situation to lose the game. And then he got Sir Alvin Kalichiran coming into the crease. As I explained to you, when you lose 5 wickets, what do you expect? But this frustration was different. Under the same frustration where most of the players lose their calmness and give away their effort. And that's what they ends into the negative side, usually throwing wicket or losing wicket. Where over here, the greatness of the player, which I call it, it's in their head. Even they were down, we call it Dennis Lillee was on song for West Indies at that point. Kalichiran has a different mood. He was frustrated, definitely. We all as a human being, when you go into this situation, everyone ends up in frustration. But then he decided to do something different that previous all batsmen did not do it. And rest is the history. He played the T20 in 1975 ODI. That was like 60 over ODI, if you remember. But his particular inning, if you look at against Dennis Lillee, and the way he scored runs in 2 hours from Dennis Lillee, it's amazing. So what happened here, the same frustration was there. But because of the player's greatness, he decided to fight against and wanted to prove it. Then I'm 100% different than all others. You got a day, you got a moment, you are doing everything, whatever is luck in favor for you, but I'm not the next one. I have an idea for you. So there's like 2 different examples, similar situation. We have a lot of things going on. Like today's game, let's say Rajasthan Royals versus the RCB. Look at the story. They lost 3 quick wicket in the first 2 overs, and then everything was collapsed. Everybody's get out in a low score of 59. And then I remember the end of the match interview was asked by the captain what happened. It was a too short time to figure out what happened. It takes time to figure out. But you can say those are the critical moments. Once you are under pressure, everyone automatically gets frustrated. And in most cases, the wrong decisions are taking place.
Thank you, Coach. Leon, any questions from your?
Yes. I'm glad Jason brought up that one in 1975 because we can also remember how Derek Murray and Andy Roberts held on to Pakistan when they were on the brink of defeat.
Yep.
They were not frustrated at all.
That's
They
it.
were not frustrated. And a question to Jason, we talked about when West Indies was frustrated, but here's a situation that Roberts and Murray held their own. They could have been falling, wickets could have been falling, and West Indies could have been defeated. People felt that they were already defeated. What do you think went through the minds of the two players for them not to be frustrated?
It's a very hard to say on that particular thing without asking Sir Andy Roberts or those players involved. But I can read the inning itself. It's absolutely one of the best innings you can find. And that was the day. And under that situation, as I said, frustration is normal. It doesn't spare anyone. But the greatness of the players belongs to where they are able to contain that frustration, or they become the really cool or calm down situation to tackle with it. The first thing you have to eliminate the frustrating thoughts from the head. And then you focus in a current moment. And that is what exactly that pair did. They don't care what happened at that particular moment. Even they were knowing we are maybe last one, but they never give up. What they decided, instead of thinking all over about the team situation and what their teammates did, they decided to their way. We call it the stubborn attitude. Hey, I'm here. I'm going to do as long as I can. I'm staying here until end of the game. And it did work out. Those are like two turning point for the West Indies first World Cup. That's Alan Cullich's inning against Lily. And definitely this pair, what they put on show against Pakistan, these are the two, we call it turning point to win that first World Cup.
So, another question is, mothers and fathers want the best out of their children. And sometimes they're in the stand watching their son or daughter batting or bowling. And these kids want to do their utmost. But the harder they try, they are not able to succeed. My question to if mothers and fathers really go too much and try and encourage the children or trying to bring the best out of the children, sometimes it doesn't work. What would you say to a mother and parent and father who is telling them and see their son or daughter?
It's definitely the huge concern. Little bit we are off the topic from frustration, but I will definitely answer you. It's usually age specific, and I heavily put more weight on maturity. If we understand the right, the young kids, even under 12, they are paying more attention to their parents than the coaches. So during that time, The right parents who understand coaching or who understand the sports, they will prefer not to go to the ground. The reason for that, if you want to see your kid can succeed, then you have to understand this game is all about self-decision making process when they are in the field. So to train them, it is the best option. Stay away from the ground. Let them play the way they like or the way they love to do it. The main reason for that, if you are on the sidelines, then this young player is absolutely, I call it the double mind. Every ball he faces or every moment he thinks about it or she thinks about it because the parents are there. And I have seen it. Or you can even judge yourself. Go to the youth game. Let's say 10 years old kid is playing. If you look at it, they are not in the game. If they have mom or dad on the sideline or something, their head is pointing that direction more often than they face the down on the pitch. The another thing is, I call it the realism maturity is we understand why the young players follow their parents and they are more attracted about what they do, where they are, what the presence belong. And that can be the disturbing on the performance. And that is also delays the process of self-decision making process. But the maturity is the another concern. If the player is good, if it understand, parents are there to support me or watch my game, but I got to do my way, my business. That's called a maturity. It means they are not distracted. They are not paying too much attention to the parents. And if they can perform their own way without the instruction from the parents, let's say, and then it's a good. And it only happens if the player is mature. Even he understands what he's doing and does he need instruction from outside. The another point here, when the young players get confused or unable to make right decision or delaying that decision making process, we call it the weakness in that process, then parents from the sidelines instructing them what to do. They usually give the things what they're supposed to do like that. And that is a completely not a way to train young players in any sport, not just cricket, even in other sports. They don't prefer this way. If so, I will suggest, if it is a parent, I will say the simple statement is let them do what they like to do and love to do, and you stay back, relax, and watch it. If your kid or daughters, means young ones are young at youth level, and if you go to the game and if you see that there is eye contact or they are looking at you more often, I will suggest we need to find the other alternative so they can put their head in the game than the outside world. And that is the best thing to train them.
Thank you, Coach. Coach, what is or how do you explain the effect or the impact of frustration on players in a match?
In a match, we already discussed so far, it can impact you positive or negative, but the most likely is the negative one. But this frustration can be more dangerous and damaging of the field activity. I'll be coming to soon with the example. The more risk is involved in a frustration mind when something happens in the game. In terms of the example, I can definitely say, even at the highest level or professional international level, we have seen players who are either upset or they're speaking something against team or administration, selection process or outcome of the game, something. Now, those are the statements coming definitely because of the frustration. And sometimes, whatever they're saying in a frustration, it mostly the intention usually, if you listen to those frustrating statements, is the person is not willing to take blame, or person is trying to stay away from the blame, but believes it's not my fault, it's others' fault. And that is what it causes more damaging. And if I give the good example is the West Indies, when the player get into situation, they make some decision, and after that, do I have to say they don't want to represent the country? They'll find the excuse not to be part of the team. So these are things are not a something player wants to do, but they came out to a situation where they cannot take it anymore. We call it they lost the tolerance about the situation. And then whatever is happening with them, absolutely, this is off the field. But whatever happened in the game or whatever happened with the team or the tour, this is what it bouncing back. And because of that, whatever the statement they make, it immediately goes into the disagreement against whoever they speak. Most likely they are speaking against the administration or selection committee or something like that. And then you already started the fire, I call it. And now you're trying to get into the disagreement. And it's arguing process sometimes works, but the most time don't. And who suffers? If you look at it, if you research is, I believe the person who made a statement under the frustration is the one suffering.
Thank you, Coach. Let's change direction for a second. Mood change or mood swing, Coach, is often cited as having an effect on performance. Can you explain this particular situation?
This is the real good question, and I will say, if you understand right, the moment of frustration comes because so many things happen. Let's say this way. That includes the expectation. Also, the game situation itself, the current moment, we call it under pressure or something like that. And then it forces you in your mindset process to think so many things, which is not much concern to the next moment, but we are still puzzling from that previous moment. And what it forces you is, once you're in the frustration, is a part of the mood. It puts you down. You maybe lose a smile, turn into the big face, may have some angerness. But what happens if you change your mood or able to change mood in this particular moment? Things can change because mood is the one controls your thought process, and it directly impacts. And if you can change that mood or decide to do something under this situation, the result and outcome can be different than in what could be under the frustration. And this is again, it's a part of that distraction and how to avoid the confusions. That's a similar process, but over here, the mood is what? Are you doing something to switch on and off situation so you can really focus and concentrate on the next moment? And that's all matters. And that's how the mood can change. If you can control that, then you can at least avoid or eliminate frustration and continue doing well.
Frustration is visible in many life situations, but is it possible to control or to avoid it?
Yes, it is. And it's, you can say, we call it the body language, right? Sometimes depends on the person's nature and ability and habits. You can see the physical body language. Sometimes it can be over aggressive. Sometimes you can see the face. If you read it right, we usually call it, he's not in right mood. He is angry. What it means? There's something going on. Person don't like it. So there's we call it the body language. Is the five is like your eye contact, your facial expression is the key to read the frustration and your mood. And at the same time, look for the body, the physical action. For example, I can give you the good example. What happens when you see, we have seen this a lot of time on TV. Batsmen get out for some reason, and all of a sudden they get upset. They throw the bat, they swing around, they say, they speak something on themselves. These are all frustrations. And the thing is, here is the difference. Everybody gets into, but the great players and good players, they don't get into. For example, I can give you one of the best example I have seen over the years is a woman captain of India, Mithali Raj. She used to be a captain and put so many records. But if you see her, it does not matter how she get out, at what score, when, has nothing to do with it. She is coming off with a smile. It's very hard to control, believe it or not. As every human being, when you go down and when the things doesn't go as you expected or wanted to do, you will be disappointed. That's 100%. And then your body language usually comes. But there are few, just few, who can control that emotions. And there's the other is definitely Sachin Tendulkar. The another, if you look at the West Indies, I give a credit to Shivnarayan Chandrapal in that sense. I haven't seen Shiv got frustrated in the game. He always, in his own way, I call it, in his own way. He knows what he's doing. He don't get into. And those are the things. The another best example is definitely MS Dhoni. You don't see those thing activity. It means they control it. They control it. And because of that, they are in a top rank of greatness of players.
Thank you, Coach. Leon, any?
Yeah, I was just saying, yes, I was just going to follow up on the topic, the point that Katie just raised a while ago. Because bowlers who can be frustrated, they will be hit for a couple of boundaries or hit for 5 sixes, and they want to avoid hitting hit for 6 sixes. And they sometimes resort to bowling a no ball, bowling a beamer, or bowling, or a batsman could be getting a bad decision. He was not out, and the umpire gives him a bad decision. He goes into the dressing room and breaks his back, constantly decides the window and damage himself. Now, as a coach, how would you approach him or her?
Well, there's one of the best example to see the both side of the frustration, positive and negative. I think anyone is listening, they need to go back to the YouTube and find that 6 sixes by the Yuvraj Singh. If you look at this whole incident, it started before the bowler bowled this fast delivery. Let's take it this way. Something happened during the change of overs, right? And it was verbally targeted to the Yuvraj Singh, the way I look at it, the video, I say, right? In my opinion, the England side started that communication. Whatever it is, we don't know. They never released that tape. But something happened. And then what happened? As I said, there's a two sides. The batter, Yuvraj Singh, scored those 6 sixes because he overcome from that frustration and did it and decided, let my bat talk. So that's a one simple example. On the other side, bowler got frustrated. but he was not able to overcome. He tried 4 different things in that over, but everything went for 6. And it could have been continued, but because of the game laws, the over was ended after the 6 deliveries. If you had continued like old Australian style 8-ball over, I think Yuvraj can score 2 more. That's how the momentum was. So these are the 2 things, how you control and do something, the one you're supposed to do, or under the frustration, you are making one mistake, another mistake, another mistake. And end of the day, the person or player who can control their emotions and frustration can be a winner.
I can recall that Broad went on to be one of the best fast bowlers the world has ever seen, because he has, excelled since then. And Malcolm Nash, who still was unfit for 6 consecutive sixes as well. We didn't hear much about him after that. No, but we are hearing about Hasaranga. It was the guy from that Pollard hit the 6 sixes as well. So
there are many incidents. First one was definitely Gary Sobers in that county game, long time ago, right? And then Yuvraj Singh, and then we have few. There's a one player in women's side also. But if you look at all incident, if I have to rate with the today's topic, the Stuart Broad and Yuvraj Singh was the one best example to understand how this went wrong for England side and how did went for good India side, because these 2 players made some adjustment in their mind and decided to do certain things, and they succeed. One succeed other way, other did not come out anything. So that's like, is not about how the others score, but I have seen like 4 or 5 players, 6 sixes in a row like that. But this one was the completely different situation, the way it started before the over started.
Thank you, Coach. Coach, don't expectations have a direct influence on a player's frustration?
I will say always. The most of the time, it's the expectation. Means you thought some way, and it did not happen. And another thing, which is I call it the minor, sometimes thing doesn't go the way you like. Someone else is involved, but things are not going well the way you thought. And because of that, I will say the player who is going with expectation, and when the things go wrong and get into the frustration, so there's a direct link. I call it expectation is seeding for the future possible frustration. So if you're starting with expectation, then you are expecting that this may happen. And it does. If thing doesn't go well, it definitely comes in place. And that is the why we call it, go with the low expectation, but go with more confidence. Self-confidence matters most than you go with expectation.
Okay, thank you, Coach. Leon, this time I'd like to at least address our panelists. If any of our panelists have any questions.
Yes, we have a bunch of panelists. We have Audrey on, we have Ivor on, we have Virgil on. So I'll bring them in one by one. I think we have Donna and Ivor, Virgil. Let me see, Virgil. Anyone of you can come right in with a question if you have. But Jatin, the topic is frustration. Anyone wants to come in at this point?
Taker?
Oh, go ahead.
Why do you formulate this question?
Yes.
Coach?
I don't know.
We've discussed frustrations quite a bit this afternoon. The one answer that perhaps eludes many of us is, can a player really bounce back from frustration during a match?
So that is the another, we call it the important thing. Sometimes, or I will say most of the time, the frustration is not easy to get rid of it. When it comes to you, it will take time to get back to the normal rather than stressing out or going under pressure, something like that. But when we say some of the legends are quickly recover from that situation, means they are bouncing back very quickly than you think about it. So that requires the internal strength to do so. How much power you have to control your mind, that is what it takes place. How quickly you can change your mood, that's another tool. But these are different things for different players at different age, different level. Even the same person can be different in a different situation. So there is no standard formula or the standard benchmark or protocol or process where somebody can apply and do it regular basis. But one thing for sure, on consistent basis, if someone practice to deal with this frustration, yes, you can. You can control it. You can avoid it. And even if it's come to you, if you are able to change the mood, the outcome can be the different.
Okay, Coach, you mentioned earlier, Michael Iraq, Van der Poel, and Dhoni control of their frustration, or at least not showing any overt sign of frustration. That leads me to wonder if how should a player handle frustration during a match? Such as, for example, you had that 59 all out in the T20 earlier today. But how should a player handle that type of frustration?
Yeah, it's a good thing, but if you look at it, it's all about calmness. Control yourself, that is the key. And try to understand the situation, the current moment. And then with the mindfulness, you go forward. If you remember the Gary Sober's word, whatever happened, it's gone, it's past. We can learn something out of it. We can do something, but the next opportunity is completely different. It will be 100% not similar what it went by or what is past. So it's all about the thinking process. What I could not understand here in this 59 collapse, the team is going through crisis. They are losing wickets on regular basis. Even at the one spot, like say you are 99% going to lose, then how come someone did not decide to stay at the crease and kill those 20 overs? Yes, mathematically, the inning folded up in 14 overs or the same score at the end of the 20 overs, both has a very similar impact on your net run rate on all those. But the positive side here, rather than wrapping up this inning early, can we just play out? Even we are losing, you have the opportunity to fight back and challenge under this situation. This is the challenging phase. When you losing that quick wickets means you are in challenging phase. Are you able to survive in this situation? Are you able to score something during this situation? So this is the challenge. Somebody has to take it. And if you do that and decide to stay there at the crease until, let's say, 20 over is over, then it's not about what we achieved in net run rate or other calculations. But to me, if I'm coach, I will think the other way. Hey, at least my player got the practice and he did fight for till last moment. Because always we have to believe in a simple thing. We call it in coaching. Game is not over until it's over. And that is what they lost that concept and decided to wrap up the inning quickly. It's just like, doesn't matter how good bowling is or how tough it is, but someone has to put the effort. That is the matters. So that's like even in this situation where you say frustration, can you do your best? And when you do that, then we can say, yes, the player was capable to block or avoid or eliminate the frustration and do well. And that's a part of the training.
Thank you, Coach. Leon, any additional questions?
No, no additional for me. I don't know if any of the panelists having any questions. Jason, Audley?
Okay.
No, I haven't got a question.
Coach, I think you mentioned, I come back to Misali, Thunderfall, Tony, how you explain their control. I wonder, those are players who have demonstrated quite clearly their ability at the game they play. So they are standout legends in no regard. Do you know if other experienced legends follow that same type of control technique, or is it a technique, or is it something that they're just strong independently? They learn how to master things, or is there a formula that they are working on which allows them to control frustration to the same extent?
So this is, as I said earlier, every human is different and everyone has a different capacity to control their own action, let's say this way. There are plenty of legends who can overcome or control this frustration. We have seen it. But there are some outstanding players who can do consistent basis. And that is what it is. Maybe dozen player has a different category. Like you can put them at the top with the high ranking. Like you have even Brian Lara. Don't underestimate when he scored that 380 and 400 runs plus 500 in county is not easy for any level, I would say, right? But that was the scoring side. He was in situation with the good partnership to score those. But the real test comes when your team is down, not doing well, and you are fighting for your own performance or the team's outcome, let's say, and that is the beauty. And where you can say, if it is a Sivnarayan Chandrapal, you got to look at it. How many, I think he's a world record holder, losing number of partners while he was at the crease. Now that part is not easy. Almost his majority of the career, he is coming in as a middle order batsman. Means you have to deal with these tail-enders. And we have seen so many times when the all-rounders, after the wicket-keeper, they start losing wickets. The mainstay batsman, the senior batsman at the crease, has to make some changes. For example, they usually like to have a single on fourth, fifth, or sixth ball to continue with the strike so they can keep their partner away from losing wickets. That's one commonly used tactic we use in cricket. The another one is put them in frustration, like what happens, partner gets out, so they get into the different gear, I call it, where they try to get as many as run possible, as quickly as possible, because that partner can get opportunity to face the ball and lose wicket. So those are the things they usually control. And when you that control is not easy, as I said, and that is what the standout. The another situation is, if you consider, is Rahul Dravid. It's not about scoring, it's not about losing temper, but he is labeled as a name in a cricket world. It's a wall. Means when the inning is crisis, team is crisis, you are expected. He is going to stay as long as he can. And that's the beauty. And then during that situation, I can speak for Rahul Dravid for sure in that case, if you compare the innings, like number of ball faced or how many minutes they stayed at the crease during that situation or how much score they made, if you compare those, he is even ahead of the many other legends. Don't forget, when he was playing in his prime time, you had a Ganguly, you have Sehwag, you have Laxman, then you have Tendulkar. So you look at that. Every batter was there in a top category. But even though when the situation comes, I would say everyone will be tested in that situation. And that's what the Rahul came out more often compared to any other batters out there who succeed because of the control they have over their own mind.
Thank you so much, Coach. And in